Corruption in Angola, which has reached the stage of wholesale looting of the country, is its biggest problem. And it is so big that even the 2017 elections have been stolen wholesale by the ruling party MPLA. And as an investigative journalist, it is my job, and I have been disrupting the narratives of the regime, which have been equating any complaints against their power as wanting war. So they're creating a fear-mongering spirit within society that any complaints people want to bring about the ghosts of war. And actually, there is no two armies as we had in the past during the Civil War until 2002, when the war ended. What basically the regime is saying is that if anyone dares to challenge the status quo, there will be a massacre. And part of my job is to disrupt that narrative of creating fear in society so people do not address this biggest scourge, corruption.
You had recently two big things happen to you. One is receiving a National Endowment for Democracy Award for 2017, and the second is at the same time being indicted for exposing General Attorney for acting like a real estate agent, and that's like a very significant example of corruption in Angola and misuse of power.
Yes, recently I have received an award for my work on against corruption, and at the same time I was indicted for exposing the Attorney General for land grabbing for real estate development, in which he acts as an individual, as a real estate agent, to build a beachfront condominium. And what is interesting about this case is that he acknowledges to having requested that land. But then his argument is that he, in the end, did not pay for the land, so he lost the title deed. So how did he acquire the title deed in the first place if he did not pay for the land? Yet, when I was initially charged, I was charged for defamation. As I presented the evidence, the case evolved from defamation to committing a crime against state security. Now I'm being indicted, and I'm on trial now for crimes against the state security. So this is one of the ways in which this regime abuses its power and uses these obscure laws to essentially prosecute and persecute all of those who try to abide by the rule of law and try desperately to tackle the scourge of corruption that essentially has taken over the state institutions.
So what would you say is the most pressing issue in Angola today?
At the moment, we have a new government which is more of the same, the ruling party which has been in power for 42 years, and they have stolen the elections because the votes have not been counted. And that is a major problem because there will be consequences for the way the people's will has been stolen at the polls.
You are part of a Draper Hills alumni network, of OMIDR network, Leadership Forum, but you're also part of other important international networks. How significant for your work and for your survival in Angola are your international networks?
The international networks are critical to break the isolation and the government's grip on me, and that is critical. And just to give you an example, I'm currently under a travel ban. And the reason why I was able to come was because I was invited by the European Parliament to address the European Parliament, and on my way to the European, after the European Parliament, I just made it to this great event. So I had not had these connections abroad, this network. By this time, the government would have already sorted me out as they wish. But it's also important to acknowledge something even more critical. Oftentimes in such repressive systems, the most fundamental question is, how do you understand the politics of repression, the executors of repression, and how do you insert yourself in society so that you have internal support, even within the structures of repression? And that is critical for any change to take place, to count on internal forces first and foremost.